Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Whoop whoop. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have a great show for you today. I've got one of your return favorites now, Scott Nathan. He has all the best Hollywood stories. Did an interview with him last week. But first, I got to fill you in on my fun weekend in Las Vegas and some juicy stuff that's happened since with our favorite juicy topics. So let's get into it. First of all, I hope you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I know I did. We went to Las Vegas for my live show. I know many of you got the streamer from Moment House and you still have a few days to enjoy it. And it was really so fun. So so Brandon has finals coming up. So Peter stayed with Brandon and I had the next best thing, my son Drake, drive us. So the two of us drove and we decided to drive versus going to take Southwest or whatever, just because honestly, I like just having a lot of bags. I'm disorganized. I have badges. I have stuff for the VIP. It makes it so easy to put it in the car. But it's Memorial Day weekend in Las Vegas. So we were a little freaked out that there'd be a lot of traffic. No, it was fabulous. Got in the car, got our coffee by 7:30. We rolled up at the Venetian by 11:30. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think there's anything that gets me wetter than when I wake up and realize that I've slept for more than 8 hours, or when you've beat a time from LA to Las Vegas. So great because we're at the Venetian, and being that I'm performing there, you get some great perks when you get to perform there. One being we get to check into the VIP lounge. So that's really great because they have free waters there. And if you've been listening to me for a while, you know Peter has a real contention about us ever taking anything from the minibar, which every hotel, especially in Las Vegas, there's like a sensor. So even if you took it and then was like, you know what, I don't think I need this little beer or this half bottle of wine. If you put it back, too bad, it's on your bill. So I'm like, okay, so we got some waters. I got a free latte. Then we had a little bit of time. So Drake and I got a cute lunch and then went back. Our room was fabulous. I had my room on my side. We had a whole living room. And then Drake had his room on his side. And then Justin and his boyfriend, Evan, came over and Chris. And we had like a little cocktail hour, a little vouv. Then we went to Mont 32, which, wow, amazing. Juicy Scooper Dawn Britt hooked me up with that. And I loved that meal. But it was pricey. So pricey that they don't tell you the price. And one of the things was this absolutely delicious lobster that is a lobster from Australia that besides having an accent, it also doesn't have any claws, which is weird. Anyway, so the bill comes and I don't have my readers. So I give it to my son, Drake. And I go, I think part of it's comped or whatever. And Drake is like, oh my God, Mom, the lobster is so expensive. And I'm like, luckily the guy came right over and he goes, no, this is on us. So we tipped the guy and we left. The next morning, Drake was like, Mom, the anxiety I felt, like, because the Peter gene is so strong. And I mean, he's like, that lobster, for the cost of that lobster, they must give him a first class ticket from Australia, because when he told me, I was like, wow. But I have to say it was beyond delicious. And then we had a duck that they like carved up. We all ate it. It was so good. Okay. So then Justin and Evan go off to like an O show at Bellagio and they have fun. Drake goes back to the room and I'm friendly with Hannah Berner. She was performing at the Wynn across the way. So Chris and I were able to see the last end of her show, and she was traveling alone. She didn't have any friends there. The husband, she's just like on tour. So that was so fun. So we went over to Delilah's, which is a really fun place in the Wynn, which is kind of like, it's sort of like a speakeasy. Like you feel like you walked into like the Great Gatsby. It's really fun. And so we had some drinks there and headed back. And this is what I love when I do a Las Vegas show, because I stay for 2 nights, but I only have a show one. because when I have the show, then that whole day I'm really focused on the show. So Saturday starts and we go to Lavo for brunch. Oh my God, the brunch is ridiculous at Lavo. Had brunch there with my friend Mike, who is a Vegas resident and works in hospitality. He's great. So we had our food there. Then we go over to our cabana where they hooked me up again. This is the nicest cabana I've ever been in my life. It was like an apartment. It had a bathroom, full air conditioning. So that was great. So I was able to like go over the topics with Justin and Chris there while we had some like tacos and stuff. And then Spencer arrives with his dad because Heidi ended up staying home with the kids. And the dad was so sweet. So they have fun. We have fun with them. And then get ready for the show. So I get all cute. I have a great, you know me with my shorts and my blazers. And I've never, until last year, ever wore naked legs on stage. Until last year was the first time I did it. Because I always thought as a young female comedian that like, that's too sexy. These little chicken legs will like distract people from my jokes. And now that I'm like, how many more years do I have left to even show these chicken legs? Now I'm like, I am showing them in a shorts and blazer combo from Alice and Olivia and just really feeling myself. And I loved doing the show. We had so much fun. I screwed it up a little bit. I brought out Chris, and Chris was the closer, and we had all these fun videos that are like scraped from the internet from when we were on Chelsea Lately that we rediscovered and I was able to play in the live show. So that was really fun and of course had some juice. So that was all great. And then on the way home, we charged our Tesla and went to Prim, which is so depressing. It's just like about 30 minutes from the Strip, and there's like a sad roller coaster that I don't think a coaster or whatever you call it, like the little ride, I don't think it's worked in like 15 years. And it just is just a vibe of just like, wow, what the hell is this? Like nobody's working there. It's just like one lone person by themselves. And, but kind of interesting to go look at. So we get going, and it was my anniversary weekend, 23 years. It's always been Memorial Day weekend. So I come home. Peter did give me a beautiful orchid purchased at Target. And Raven was, I don't know that she was thrilled to see me. I felt like Ariana coming home from my grandmother's funeral and to only find out that Rachel's been hanging out with Tom Sandoval all weekend. And she's like, hi, how was your trip? So sorry for you. It was so that we were here, and I am recording this now, and I'm excited to enjoy the Memorial Day in a little bit. Ross Matthews is coming over. Ross is going to be on soon on the show, and Sarah's going to be Wednesday, and it's all good. I was supposed to have Brandy and Julie last week, but poor Brandy's little peewee has gone on to heaven after 23 years of life. So they'll be coming back soon, but it was so much fun. Had the best time, and really like a seamless weekend. And I also want to say, not that crowded for Memorial Day weekend. And apparently it's because the weekend before there was the, what was that? Like a music festival, electric parade. What? Oh, EDM. EDM. And I guess every happening person goes to that. So it was like very chill. Restaurants were not crowded. Oh, we went to Villa Azur after the show, and it was like pretty loud music, and we were dancing and just having a blast, and just super fun. So just beginning to end, so fun, so great. Okay, so now I want to get into Real Housewives of New Jersey. I am so excited for the reunion tonight, you guys. If you have not seen the trailer, if you have not watched this season, this is going to be epic. It's going to be crazy. The clips from this thing are like chills. I'm scared. So as you know, if you've been listening to Juicy Scoop, Teresa, who's the star of the show, is married to this guy, Louis, now. After her husband of many years, Joe Giudice, they got divorced after he came back from prison. He lives in the Bahamas because he is an Italian citizen. And even though he's been here since he was 1 month old, he never got around to getting his papers. Not too bright of a thing to do, but whatever. So she marries Louis, and we got to see the special, the wedding special, this past week. And I did kind of enjoy, I really do kind of like enjoy watching the special. I don't know why she had burlesque dancers and like naked people dancing while Jennifer Aydin's daughter was there. I thought that was kind of weird. But hey, it's her wedding. And if they're like this hot, sexy couple, he's like, want to have sex. I think they have a lot of sex. And then but people in his family, like his brother and his dad, they gave speeches about how loyal Teresa is. And he used the word a lot too. Loyalty. And he had a couple people that were from his famous video of when, I guess, a couple years ago when he was engaged to somebody else, he went to this like Christian man, empowerment kind of a thing through this inspirational speaker who and podcaster named Garrett White, who lives out there. And he gave this video to his fiance at the time saying, I'm going to make it better. I want to marry you. And all these guys behind him are like, this is the kind of stand-up man you have to be, like change. Anyway, that video got out. And before, I've met Teresa and Louis when I was in St. Bart's. But before all of that, I happened to be on my weekend with my girlfriends for my birthday. And I made them do a reenactment of it. And I got to find it and like repost it because it's pretty hilarious. And they had to stand behind me, and none of my friends are like actresses or anything. And I acted like I was pleading to Peter to be a better wife. And then I was going to stop making such boring chicken and stop buying black shoes and like just really try to come up with some new sexual positions, like just try to make it the best wife I can. Anyway, so there were some of those guys there, but he kept saying loyalty, which some people felt was a little bit disturbing, but is that an Italian thing? But Louis is not really Italian, but obviously, Teresa wants to stand by her man. So the wedding, the hair is huge. He even looked up at it. I love that they were honest about it. When I met him, he's like, you're a comedian. What did you think of Teresa's hair? And I said, I think she let her hairdresser, I think she told her what she wanted. I think the hairdresser went too far. And by the time it was done, she was probably already late walking down the aisle. And if you have 1,500 bobby pins in your hair, there's no going back. There's no turning back. And who cares? It's funny, got great press. It's very Teresa, whatever. So now in the reunion, we're going to see Melissa and Teresa go at it, Joe and Louis go at it. And at the clip that I'm seeing is Teresa says to Melissa, her sister-in-law, I'm happy never to see your face again. Something like that. So they said they're not picking up cameras yet for New Jersey. They don't know what's going on with that. They normally would be like ready to start filming. So everyone is speculating, are they keeping Teresa and Louis? Are they keeping Melissa and Joe? Are they all just going to come back and film together? Or are they going to split the two shows? What's going to happen? Because it looks like they really are done. And I just want to say, I did see someone send me something interesting about Italian men. And in some Italian families, not all, some, it's like this rule where like in a man's life, his mom comes first, then his sister, then his kids, then his wife. And I don't believe Joe Gorga had his priorities like that. But God, if you are one of those women and you're number 4 and if you've been married to this guy for 20 years like Melissa, that would be pretty annoying not to get the respect from the rest of the family and you're like 4th on the list. I don't know. I'm not Italian. This is just what an Italian person sent me. So, and I have seen stuff where like a brother and a sister in an Italian family have this weird dynamic and the sister is really always like the matriarch of the family, even if the guy has a wife. But then I've also heard from Italians, and I think Teresa even said it once, what is it? A daughter is your daughter for life. A son is your son till he meets his wife. So I don't know. But listen, these two, I think, have to take a serious break, if not forever. And I also want to say, as someone who have talked about adult sibling abusive relationships in which you have to break off all communications with your sibling as an adult, I think that needs to be more normalized. Because why is it that everybody is not critical of someone who gets divorced? Here you made a commitment to be with this person, you had children with this person, and now you get divorced. Obviously, nobody has a problem with divorced people, but people have such a problem when you want to cut off ties with your mother or your father or your sibling. Why? You don't even have children with that person. This relationship you were forced into, and just because you both came down the same vaginal tunnel and lived in the same house for maybe 15 years of your shared life together, now you're 50 and you hate each other. You don't have to keep seeing each other. You don't. It makes it harder when a paycheck's involved and when the whole world is watching and the whole world is giving their advice. But even with cousins, even if the cousins don't hang afterwards, they each have their own sibling family. They all are successful people. I don't think it's the end of the world. I'd like to see them all still remain on TV. I wouldn't even know what to say to Bravo on how to fix this. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it. Speaking of Bravo, I think it's kind of interesting, and I thought about this the other day. Andy has another book coming out. A lot of juice is leaking it. People are buying it, enjoying it. It's called The Daddy Diaries, and I guess it's about him being a young dad. But of course, he gets a lot of inside juice about his own relationships with housewives. And what I think is interesting is that if he has a personal relationship with a housewife, just about their personal life or personal conversation, or about negotiations, salary, why they are put on pause, why they might come back, any advice he has with them, any one of those, all those conversations, he can write in his book. And the housewife is not going to be pissed about it because she's hoping to come back to Bravo. But if a housewife shares anything about salary, negotiation, anything that Bravo doesn't like, whether it's on their own podcast, my podcast, on the red carpet, in an interview, they could get in a lot of trouble with Bravo. They get scolded. They oftentimes get fined, or worse, they get put on pause or fired forever. I just find that kind of a bit of a double standard, and just something that I don't know that's really been pointed out. Don't blame Andy for it. Hey, I share about my life. He has every right to share it. I just think it's a little maybe hypocritical, being that every housewife now has multiple platforms and multiple streams of income, as they should. They all have merch. They all have a podcast. They're all, trying to do live shows, whatever that might be, whether they're stripping, dancing, singing, answering questions, whatever. And you got to make your money while you got to make it, because it's not going to last forever. And that's always been my advice. So I don't begrudge anybody for doing anything like that. A lot of people are still confused about Pizzagate. So let me explain from my knowledge and my understanding. I actually heard about this idea from a friend, was told to keep it a secret. She didn't know if it was going to come out on the show or not. But I was like, ooh, it was a couple years ago. And it was when Teresa was dating Louis, but they weren't engaged. And Joe had a business idea for them to do together, for him and Teresa to do together. At this time, they're all getting along. And he liked Louis very much and liked Louis for Teresa. And there's episodes where he says that. So there was no issue with that. And he has this idea, which I thought was a pretty great idea when my friend told me. You get these like portable pizza ovens, and then you have like a subscription where like dough and ingredients will come every month. So it comes right to your door, and you're billed monthly, and you can have this great pizza. And the pizza ovens were already existing. Another company had them, which there's controversy as would this business ever been able to do it, because they didn't create the pizza ovens. They were already in existence. But Melissa had a cousin that had worked in the business or something. That person gets all the pizza ovens, in which Louis allegedly spent $250,000 getting the inventory. Then somehow he decides, Louis says, I don't think that No Nose Pizza is a great name. You have the book, Teresa has Skinny Italian, Skinny this. She's got like 4 books with skinny in it, cookbooks. It should be called Skinny Italian Pizza, something like that. And they did a photo shoot with Teresa and the girls to get this launched or to get funding. I don't know. Joe Gorga allegedly finds out that they did a photo shoot without him, without Melissa, without the kids, or certainly without him. And he's like, well, I put up all the money, Louis said, so you'll still be part of the business, but we like this name better than No Nose Pizza, and I'll give you 10% of the business. And Joe got very upset by that, because it was his idea to start, And then Teresa got upset because she was like, oh my God, why did we even get in business with my brother? Now this might affect my relationship with this guy I really love. And Louis just said, forget it. I don't want you fighting with your brother. I don't want to be fighting with your brother. Kill the deal. I don't care that I lost money. That's it. And so people are saying, so the rifts of their relationship doesn't have that much to do with the pizza thing because it never went. Neither person benefited from it, and it died. I don't know where these pizza ovens are. Apparently, they present one to Andy at the reunion. But what Teresa told me is that the oven made a very thin crust pizza. So the Skinny Italian name was a much better marketing idea than No-No's Pizza. I agree. Anything that's like, hey, you'll get skinny, I think people want to buy. So there's that. Just thought that was interesting. And then, of course, with the rumors, then they fight about the rumors. And it's so weird because there's been so many storylines, especially in New Jersey, that just start from a rumor. Teresa said she heard a rumor about Jackie's husband going to the gym and hooking up with girls or something at the gym or whatever. That was never proven to be true. Where did she hear the rumor? She never says, but she said it and became a plot line. Marge brought up the fact because Jennifer Aydin was bringing up the fact that Marge and her husband, which Marge never lied about, they both were cheating on their spouses, and then they got together and they've been married for years. She was always bringing that up to Marge, and they weren't getting along. So then Marge brought up the fact that Bill Aydin had an affair before either of them were on the show. Again, that wasn't a rumor, but she brought up something on camera that we never saw on camera. But juicy, all cheating. This latest thing is the story was, and it's confusing, that allegedly this person saw Melissa in a car making out with a guy. This person told Margaret. Then Margaret told this girl, Laura, who's been trying to get on the show forever, but never made it. Then Laura told Teresa and Jennifer Aydin, or maybe just Teresa, but Jennifer Aydin and Teresa know. Teresa tells Louis about it. Louis says, Joe Gorga, come to my house. I have something to tell you. He tells Joe Gorga, Melissa supposedly was making out with some guy, and Joe Gorga says he didn't just say some guy, he said lots of guys. Joe Gorga doesn't believe it, comes home and tells Melissa, and they're like, we're just telling you because it might come out on the show, but we won't bring it up on the show. Teresa and Louis won't bring it up on the show. But then Jennifer Aydin blurts it out on camera to the new girl. I can't remember her name, the new blonde girl. The new blonde girl then on the final party goes and tells Melissa, everyone's talking about how you made out with some guy in a car. Melissa goes, I already know about this because Joe told me that Teresa did this, and then supposedly Gia called Joe and said, divorce Melissa, you could do better. Gia says, I've never said that. What could have happened is Gia could have said, you deserve better, Joe, Uncle Joe, if this is true. But she did. There's no text messages of Gia saying that. It was a phone call. Anyway, so they both feel like the other has never supported them being on the show, have always been trying to tear them down. And we're also going to see on the reunion that there's some accusation from Teresa thinking that Joe and Melissa had something to do with the FBI going after her and Joe Giudice, which would be pretty horrific if that was ever proven. So to fill you guys in, that's why you should probably watch that tonight. And as far as the latest on the Vanderpump, we're almost to the tail end. But Tom Sandoval was just witnessed on the phone where a fan took a photo, and he's on the phone talking to, and it says Raquel Vasquez, whatever her name is. What is Raquel's name? I don't even know her last name, but it says Raquel's last name on the phone. So, and she and her family came out saying they were getting death threats and therefore had to call the FBI. So we know they called the FBI, but did Melissa and Joe call the FBI? Kris Jenner, this is a case for the FBI. FBI has a lot more important things to do, okay? They should be breaking down like pedophile rings and sex trafficking and things like that. But anyway, they got to see what weirdo DM'd Raquel and said, "You're a bitch who needs to die." I don't know. Not that anyone deserves that. I would hope that she still is on a hiatus from her phone and social media for her own mental health, which she said she's working on. Okay. And I think I've covered it all, you guys. Oh, Kim and Kroy are having like the worst divorce. They allegedly want the other to suffer so much. Kim is trying to sell her wigs for $2,700. They're selling all these clothes on Kim's Closet. She's in talks to get back on Real Housewives of Atlanta, which of course we all want to see. That's a set payday. But I've said it before, my God, I think she could be doing a separate documentary, but if she's talking to them, they're probably like, you can't do something in the interim. But wow, if I was Atlanta, I'd be like, we're going to get a whole nother crew. You are going to be on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. We're going to get a whole nother crew. We're going to pay you per week that we get to film with you starting today. And whether we use this footage on Real Housewives or not, you're going to get $10,000, $20,000 a week. But we need to see you selling your wigs. We need to see you talking to your lawyers. We need to see everything you're saying to your daughters. The fact that you want to get Kroy's hair tested because you think he smokes too much weed. We want to hear if you're going to go and Gambling Anonymous, how are you responding to the fact that you gamble all the time and he has the receipts and he's posting about it. Like, please, when the Vanderpump scandal happened with Stassi and even Jax and Kristen, when that whole thing happened, I would have loved if they could have stayed on the show and we could have seen the cameras that day. That is what we want to see. That is what the fans want to see is, what happens when everything goes to shit. Meanwhile, Lenny and Lisa of Miami, also horrible divorce. He's claiming that he came into the home where she still lives and went into the bedroom where she always leaves the mail. And then she came running out from her closet, screaming at him and physically hit him. But then he said she called 911 and said that he was the aggressor. The cops come, neither one was arrested, but then he goes and gets an ex parte or whatever, asking for immediate custody of the children, in which he would live in the home with the children because she's so irrational and she needs to leave the $50 million house. And he's going to move in there with the kids while she goes, and he'll find her a nice apartment somewhere inland in Miami. I mean, he says she's bleeding him financially. And he also said that she put listening devices in his car. Hopefully they have cameras filming this all in Miami right now. That I am not aware of. Also on Vanderpump Rules, people are showing clips of there was a scene between Randall and James at some party. And this is like 2 seasons back. And you see Raquel and Sandoval having major chemistry, major moment, major flirting behind. Lots of moments like that. So most people believe the big reveal that's going to happen at the end, the conclusion of the reunion, is that it is come forth, whether it's Raquel or someone else, that she and Sandoval had some kind of a relationship prior to the bone after guys' night. Like maybe it wasn't full on boning, but maybe it was secret conversations. Maybe it was just making out. It's that it happened a long time ago, and it's also going to, I think, be revealed that certain other cast members know as well. Lisa Vanderpump has claimed on Twitter, absolutely not true. I never knew. And then also, but we know Schwartz now knew since August, but did he know prior to that? Was she actually trying to get back at Schwartz? I mean, or it could just be a lot of hype so that we don't get bored of it and we stay engaged for the next couple weeks. I don't know the answer. That I do not know the answer to. But my guess is that the relationship, no matter how sexual or not sexual it was, there was some inappropriate relationship happening between Raquel and Sandoval, like probably starting about like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. All right, now you guys, we have more with Scott Nathan, photographer to the stars, and so much more. Get ready for some fun Hollywood stories. Hello, and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I am back for the second time with Scott Nathan, photographer, friend to every single person, invited to every single Hollywood party. Scott, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
How has your life changed since you become famous from being on Juicy Scoop? Do tell.
Well, I'm someone who's spent my life hiding behind cameras, so I didn't have to be in front of them, and now I'm with relative frequency. I'm getting recognized a lot.
And what do they say to you? The
All right.
Juicy Scoopers.
Um,
Because I know you get recognized from your TikToks too, but I just want to hear about the Juicy Scoopers.
well, people will come in. They be like, "I saw you on Juicy Scoop." I was sitting having a meeting with a friend who's actually a pretty big travel influencer, and this girl comes over and she goes, "I fucking love you," and I like gesture to Sarah and she goes, "Not her, you." She's like, "I love you from Juicy Scoop," and I was like, "Oh, no way, thank you." What do you? She's like, "Am I bothering you?" And I'm like, "No. My favorite subject is myself."
Me too.
Yeah, and she's just like, "Yeah, I'm the florist here," and it was at this cafe in Hollywood. And they sell flowers and other things too, so that was cool. And then here's an amazing one. So I'm downtown at the Mayan Theater, going to see a Brazilian jazz concert. I'm with my friend and his girlfriend, and we're in line for will call, and this lady cop comes over to me, and she's like big and doesn't seem very friendly, and she goes, "What do I know you from?" And I said, I don't know, I'm nobody." And she goes, "What do you do?" I said, I'm just a photographer." She goes, "You on TV?" I said, "No, I am not on TV." She goes, "I never forget a face." I'm like, "This is not good." Like, it feels very aggressive.
And she's a police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LA cop. And then she goes, "All right." And then she walks away, and then she comes back and she goes, "I do know you. You're the motherfucking sugar coach on TikTok." And I go, "I am." And she goes, "I fucking love you." And she fist bumps me. And then my friend's girlfriend, who's been a soap star for 26 years, she says, "I've been on a network television show for 26 years. I've never once been recognized in LA. You've been on TikTok for 10 minutes and everybody knows you. I don't understand this."
Amazing. Okay, so I love following you. I love having you on the show. What is it about you? Do you go out every single night of your life? Why do you get invited to everything? What is it about you?
I don't. There was a time, my 20s, my 30s, to a lesser extent, my 40s, that I did not miss the opening of an envelope. You know, I was out 300 nights a year. Now, like, unless you're paying me or it's something amazing, I'm not putting pants on.
And is the Mayan, not to be rude, but a Mayan Brazilian concert to me, I mean, the Mayan theater Brazilian concert, why is that so appealing?
I do.
I'm just going to be honest. It's like, to me, it sounds like a fake thing that you see in movies. Like whenever you see like a movie thing, it's always like walking to like an art exhibit. I've like been to, I know you're an artist, but like I really have not been to many like art galleries nighttime, but they're always featured in movies. A book reading, always featured in a movie.
I would never go to a book
I
reading.
don't even know if they exist anymore. Bookstores don't exist anymore. But I'm like, what is it about this situation?
I do love art shows.
Okay,
the
'cause
the big ones, the tier 1 gallery ones. But it's also the crowd's really fun, and you'd like
Yeah.
the crowd too, to go to like the Gagosians and the Hauser and Wirth and the Blum and Poes, those big, you know.
I don't even know any of those names, but because no
Those-
one invites me.
They're well,
Also, people say I'm very thirsty. I'm always inviting myself to things.
let's go.
Okay.
They're fun. So, but music, that's my weak spot. I love the tribalism of a concert so much that I will go see bands that I don't even like for the spectacle of it. And
Okay, good.
And that tribalism at all. I remember one week in college, I went to like Judas Priest, Megadeth, the Three Tenors, and Barry Manilow. Like, I love concerts. I just love concerts.
That's great. Okay.
And I think to answer the first question, how do I end up at them? I think it's just because this stuff, people like to have me along as a plus one because I can hold my own, because I can tell stories, and I'm also like a cactus. Like famous people will bring me to their premiere, knowing that I require no care and feeding. You can go on the red carpet, do all your press, ditch me. By the time you're at the other end of the red carpet, I'll have all new friends.
And speaking of all these friends, in all your stories, it's this person and this person. How many people do you honestly text and communicate with on a weekly basis that are friends? Because it seems like it's got to be at least like 40.
No, it's like a handful, but I've been kicking around this town a long time. So you build the collection, and you have to realize, like the vast majority of these
Collection.
people, I knew them before they were famous.
Oh, okay.
You know, like as you know, I met Katy Perry on the sidewalk because she couldn't get into Chateau Marmont. She's like, "Excuse me, can I get in here?" And I was like, me and my girlfriend were drunk, and we were like, "Yeah, she's with us. Come on in." And and Dita Von Teese is a dear friend. Like I knew her. She was literally a stripper in Orange County who was doing really cool burlesque, and I met her on a shoot, one of my very first shoots for Playboy. It was called Strip Search, and we were shooting strippers traveling.
Speaking of Dita Von Teese, that was such like a thing that we'd see, and she'd be featured in reality shows, and she's gorgeous, and she's in a champagne glass or whatever. Like, is that still happening? Does she still do that?
She still crushes it. She still tours globally. She'll go sell out weeks at a theater-sized venue.
Oh, that's so cool.
'Cause she's really, I mean, there are other burlesque stars, but I don't know, it reminds me of an old Jerry Garcia quote where it says it's not enough to be the best at what you do. It must be perceived that you are the only one that does what you do.
Oh, that is a good quote.
Yeah, and I spent, what day is today? Tuesday. I spent Sunday with her. I hadn't seen her in a while. We hadn't really caught up in a while, and I went over to her house and we hung out and shot the shit. And I was so not read into what she's been up to. And she's like, "You saw my Taylor Swift video, right?" I'm like, "You did a Taylor Swift video?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What I really liked about Taylor was that she said Taylor said everybody knocks you off. Everyone bites your style, your look, copies your costumes. I want you to be in a video where we're doing your thing and I am, giving you full credit." And I went home and I watched the video, and it's the martini glass with both of them synchronized, spinning in the martini glass and squeezing the olive all over each other in the jewel dresses. And it's nice when people do that.
When people recognize that you were the original, too, I think.
And acknowledge it. Because
Yeah.
most people do the Picasso, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yeah. Oh.
So that was nice of her to,
Yeah.
Taylor's got a big voice.
So now you have never been married.
No.
And no children.
No.
But you have great dating stories. And it seems like you've dated a variety of interesting women. So I would like to hear some of these interesting stories and how some of these women are quite wealthy that you date.
Some.
Mm-hmm. What is that like when you date someone really wealthy?
It's a handful. Nothing's free, Heather.
Yeah. So tell me about, there was a story about a girl that was into the horses.
Mm-hmm.
I thought at one point I would be in a position to become a late in life equestrian.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm very scared of falling off a horse and, getting crippled.
Yeah, you should be. You
So
should be.
I do like the outfits though.
So do I. I like the cause. I started taking polo lessons a few years ago just because I was just like, wearing white denim and a jersey and swinging a mallet around and looking, like some Mayflower guy.
Yeah.
What was the end of my polo career was a few times in. I'm left-handed. You're not allowed to play polo lefty.
Oh.
And I was like, why can't I just do it? And they're like, think about it. If two people are riding toward each other, going after the same ball, and you're right-handed, I'm left-handed, we kill each other with the mallets.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, it would be like, you're right-handed?
I am. I'm right-handed.
Yeah, so I'd be like, let's play tennis. You have to play lefty. It's like not possible.
I've never been to I've only been to one polo party just recently out where Coachella is. And that
Empire,
yeah, and that was fun. And I was like, I think the only time I ever saw it was in Pretty Woman, but never went to it. Only saw it in movies and stuff.
It's a really cool game, I think, and it's incredibly dangerous. It has a higher fatality rate than Formula One.
God. All right, so tell me about this equestrian lady.
Okay, so this equestrian lady was a lady I met on Raya, like at the beginning of Raya, and she's a hedge fund manager.
Was she around your age, older, younger?
A few years younger than me.
Okay.
And like a rich kid. And I saw we had a couple friends in common, and my cousin went to school with her at their Ivy League school in the East Coast.
Okay.
And she goes, "Oh, you might like her. She's kind of fun. She's a little spoiled, but blah blah blah." So we end up dating, and she's got tons of horses. These championship breeding horses, hunter jumpers, warm bloods. This was all foreign language to me too. I'm looking at her as blankly as you're looking at me.
Yeah.
So she goes, "Oh, I want you to come see my horses." And so we drive out to it's like Santa Ynez area,
Uh-huh.
and she's like, "You cannot tell anybody where these horses are." And I'm like, "No one I know cares where your horses are." She's like, "No, people would steal these horses." I'm like, "I don't know if horse thieves are still a thing." So she goes, "Don't go near that horse." And I go, "I wasn't going to." And I go, "Why?" She's
How many
like,
horses are we talking that she owns?
a dozen or so.
Oh my
with
God.
trainers, with barns. And these barns are decorated way nicer than my house. These are like beautiful, exquisite,
Yeah.
they look like Ralph Lauren made them. So she goes, "This horse's name is his nickname is Cazzodoro, which is Italian for the golden cock." And I go, "What do you call him that?" And she goes, "Because his sperm is worth a fortune. This horse literally comes diamonds and Ferraris."
Because any baby that any little calf that he makes, what do you call a little horse?
A foal?
Oh, pony.
No.
I go, what do you call a horse? She's like, a pony? It's not a
I
pony.
think it's a foal, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I
Anyway,
think.
so if you make one, that one's going to be successful.
So everyone takes the top of the food chain. They buy their
Right.
sperm in these straws, and they cost tens of thousands of dollars. So I'm so bored. It's just these jumping things. It's just people going around and around in circles. And there's no dudes there. It's all women, and they're really passionate. So I'm really exhausted. So I decided to step outside and smoke. And this older gray-haired gentleman pulls up in a green Aston Martin, and he goes, "Oh, you're new." I said, "Where are all the guys?" He goes, "Oh, you really are new." I go, "You don't come to these?" He goes, "No, we pay for all of it. We come to none of it." And let me tell you something. I don't know who your girlfriend is, but she will never love you the way she loves her horses. I said, "Dude, I figured that one out on the first date." And so the event ends. She's walking me around, introducing me to people. And she's introduced me to this little Mexican guy. And she said, "This is Octavio." And I said, "Mucho gusto, Octavio." And I said, "What's Octavio do? Is he a trainer?" She goes, "No, he's the collector." I said, "What's a collector?" She goes, "He extracts the sperm from my championship horses." And I said, "Well, so Octavio jerks horses off for a living?" And she goes, "Why do you always have to ruin everything? Why do you always have to make everything gross?" And I go, "Well, does he use a machine?" She goes, "No, he uses his hands." And I go, "Well, he did have very soft hands when we shook hands." And I go, "So Octavio literally jerks horses off for a living?" She goes, "Yeah." So
Interesting. Yeah, you're right. Someone's got to do that job.
someone's got to have the touch. So cut to 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm in Las Vegas doing a photo shoot of a bunch of pro athletes. And this guy I know in the porn business, a director, calls me up and he's Italian. And he says, "Signore, I see you're in Vegas. You have to come by the AVN Awards." I said,
Which is the adult video.
It's the Oscars of porn.
Yeah, adult video
News.
awards. Yes.
Yeah. So I said, and I had dated this one insane porn star, and I was like, "I don't want to run into her." He's like, "Dude, there are a million people here. You're not going to see her." I walk in the door. The first person I saw was her. So anyway, so he introduces me to this beautiful British porn girl, and I'm chatting with her, and she's from the same area that friends of mine are. And then she introduces me to Kieran Lee, who anyone who's ever seen porn has seen Kieran Lee. He's one of the most famous guys in porn. And he's English, and I happen to know that his nickname also is the Golden Cock. So we're chit-chatting by the slot machines, and I said, "They call you the Golden Cock, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, mate." And I said, "Why do they call you that?" He says, "I'm the only guy who can work 28 days a month." And I said, "My girlfriend has a horse named the Golden Cock, too. How much do you make for a scene?" He says, puffing his chest up, he goes, $1,500 a scene, mate. I said, "Well, this horse gets tens of thousands of dollars for an ejaculation." He says, "Show me this horse, mate." So I show him the horse's website. He takes a screenshot of it, posts it on his Twitter, and says, "The real Golden Cock, Cazzodoro."
Okay, so I need to ask you about dating a porn star.
Okay.
How did you meet this person, and what is it like to date someone and sleep with someone that the next day they're sleeping with people, and it's not just like they're sleeping with someone, it's on film, it's what they do for a living. They're a sex worker, that's fine. It's people have different attitudes about it now, but still I always wonder what it's like to be intimate with someone that is their job.
Well, this was I guess you'd call it a gateway porn star.
Okay.
So she only did girl.
Oh, that's always the loophole.
it was fine for me. So her claim to fame was she'd never had sex with a girl off camera. She'd never had sex with a guy on camera. And I didn't pursue this. So I don't shoot adult. The way this town works, as I'm sure you know, is if you shoot on the north side of Mulholland Drive and play with the dirty people, the clean people don't want to play with you anymore. And my very well-paying clients, the Disneys, the Targets, the all the beauty brands, the Schwarzkopf, Urban Decay, they don't like, you can't do crossover. So I'm
Being that that's the Valley,
yes,
which
yes,
where we are now.
yes, where we are now, Porn Valley.
Love it. I mean, growing up in the Valley and knowing that it was the porn hub of the world, not so much anymore because so many people could just do their own thing. But
Yeah.
when we would when I remember early on, we watched like some like Cinemax porn. I liked like
Skinemax,
I liked
yeah.
I like light porn, like porn light. And my husband and I were like watching it because it like came with our cable. And we would like stop it and argue about what street we thought it was. And I'm like, no, I know the cul-de-sac. It's off of Nordhoff. I know where that is. And he's like, no, I think that's right around here. And I'm like, this is real hot. This is a real sexy moment for us, just trying to know who knows better Valley real estate.
I also like that that so many of them name themselves after places in the Valley.
Yeah.
Like there was a porn star back in the day called Beverly Glen.
Yeah.
And then there was like Laurel Canyon and Christie Canyon and Rave Victory.
Christy Canyon came on my show.
She did?
Yeah.
How was that?
She was funny. She's funny.
Good.
So
So anyway,
yeah.
so the lesbian porn star. So I hadn't worked in a couple months and I'm like, I have to make some money. So I'm at a celebrity, like a real celebrity housewarming, and it's very dress up. And I'm saying hi to everybody at the party, and this woman who I'd known for years, who was a big celebrity hairstylist, comes over to me. She's like, Scott Nathan? And I'm like, hey. And I said, are you still doing so-and-so's hair? And she goes, you don't know what I do now? I go, what do you do now? She goes, I'm the biggest MILF porn star in the world. I said, are you married with 2 kids? She says, I'm married with 2 kids, and I'm the biggest MILF porn star in the world.
So the hairdresser stylist, she stopped doing hair
She
and
stopped
started
doing celebrity hair.
And how did she get into it?
There was more money in it, and she was always kind of an nymphomaniac.
Oh,
And her husband had a bit of a cuckold kink, I think.
which is where they like watching their wife with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
she's like, so I could tell where she's going with this conversation. She goes, the way you light and the way in my connections, I was like, just stop right there. I can't play with you dirty people. She's like, what are you, like a Mormon? What, you hate porn? And I was like, no, I love porn as much as everybody. I just can't. Just the way the business works. I can't work with you. And if word gets out, I can't do it. So she's calling me every 2 or 3 weeks. She's just like, come on, I got a thing for you. You don't even have to use your real name. And I'm like, no. So finally, I was running out of money. And she goes, I have a job for you. And I said, what is it? And she says, just come and shoot a DVD box cover. It's called Romance Stills. I said, I've never heard that term before. And she said, Romance Stills, it's a lesbian feature. And the girls won't even be naked. They'll just be in lingerie looking at each other longingly. And I said, no nudity. And she said, no nudity. You don't have to shoot the scene. Just shoot the box cover. I said, what does it pay? She goes, I'll pay you $1,800 in cash. And I said, what's the address in Chatsworth? She goes, how'd you know it was in Chatsworth? I said, lucky guess. Because like 77% of the world's porn is shot in Chatsworth. So I show up there and she's like, you don't even have to bring grip or lighting because we'll have it for the scene. So I show up there. I quickly say hello to the girls. I barely meet them. They get their hair and makeup done. I'm like, all right, let's go upstairs. Let's go in the bedroom, sit on the foot of the bed, look left, look right. I shot singles of both of them, did the romantic stuff, moved some light around, knocked it out in 30, 40 minutes. And then I said, okay, here's your memory card. Give me my money. So she gives me the money. And she's like, where are you going? I got catering coming in. And for lunch. And I said, well, I do love free food. So I hung out and I ate the catering and then I'm getting ready to leave. And she's like, do you want to copy the shoot to your computer? And I said, nah, I'm good. She goes, you don't want a copy of your shoot? I said, no, I'm good. Because what am I going to do with these lesbian box cover scenes? They're not going in my book. So I'm getting ready to leave again. She paid me the money. And she goes, and she refers to one of them and she says, she likes you. I go, who's that? She goes, the blonde one. I didn't even talk to her. I mean, she likes me. She goes, you should take her home. She goes, you should take her home and have sex with her. I said, look, I do okay with girls, but I'm not really like to meet someone that I don't know in clothes and be like, want to go back to my place? It's just not my game. I like get to know people, and I usually let it be their idea. And she goes, "Don't be such a square. Just take her home. She already likes you." I said, I don't know what to do. So the girls shower. They come down in their robes. They're packing up their rollerboard set bags. And it turns into the world's worst porn acting performance between her and the girl. So she says, "You don't want to have to drive all the way back to Long Beach to you tonight?" And she goes, "But where would I go?" And she goes, "Well, Scott lives in West Hollywood." And she goes, "Scott, would it be an imposition if I stayed with you tonight?" And I go, "No." And then I feel like I have to be a gentleman and take her on a date. So I go, "Well, do you want to get a drink somewhere first?" And she goes, "I guess."
So where'd you go for a drink?
Soho House. So I took her to Soho House.
Oh, really?
We had like a glass or two of wine, she did, and then made out in the photo booth. And then next thing, we're kind of dating.
So you took her home that night.
I took her home that night.
Boned.
Yeah, she stayed for a couple days.
Okay.
And then we were dating kind of regularly. And she was she was very erratic, her behavior. Like she'd be the sweetest girl in the world. And then someone would say something mean to her on Twitter, and I'd look at it and I'd be like, "This guy only has 4 followers. What are you getting mad about?" And she'd like throw her phone and like broke a hole in my wall. And I'm like, "Listen,
my
you can't
God.
do this hillbilly shit in my house. You cannot throw your phone and break my wall. You have to, temper your thing." And then she says, "You never take me anywhere. You never take me to any mainstream parties." And I'm like, "First of all, don't use the word mainstream." I was like, just saying the word mainstream in LA means everyone knows you do porn.
That's hilarious.
So I take her to a fancy proper party, and nobody knows who she is because who watches lesbian porn. And everything was going fine, but and then I started getting curious because this is not normal behavior. So when she'd be sleeping, I'd look at her medications in the bathroom, and I know my way around prescriptions fairly well, but I'd never heard of any of these. So I start Googling them, and they're like schizophrenia medications.
Oh.
So she had the bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. And I'd gotten to know her dad on the phone, and she had met my parents on the phone. And somehow my dad figured out that she was a porn star. I have no idea how. And he calls me all creepy one day, and he says, does she do porn? I go, "Yes, she does." And he goes, "What's her porn name?" I said, "Oh, do you want me to tell you, Dad?" And he goes, "Yeah, I really want you to tell me." I said, "Really want me to tell you?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I'll tell you on your deathbed. You're not watching my girlfriend do porn, you freak." And then she was like, "Tell him." I'm like, "Both of you shut up."
So how long did it last?
Not long.
Now when you have someone that you're dating that's kind of weird like that.
Yeah.
I'm actually watching the remake of Fatal Attraction on Paramount Plus. They made it a series.
Oh, I did not know that.
And it's pretty juicy the way they kind of do it. They kind of milking it out. It's modern day, but the character of Alex, there's something mentally wrong with her that makes her stalk him. It's not just that she like wants to be in love with him. Like, so that part's kind of juicy. When you're dating someone that you then realize is mentally off to a point where, they're taking whatever. She's acting erratic. She's on a very strong drug. Does that make you scared about how do I break up with this person so that they like don't go off the edge or don't try to, where they can take it nicely. Nice letdown.
Yeah, I kept warning her. I was just like, this behavior. So I took her to Maroon 5's Halloween party at the cemetery, at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Yeah.
And there's like thousands of people there, so I wasn't really worried about it. But just the way we function in polite society is, a certain way. And we're working our way through the crowd. And I'm a polite guy. I'm like, "Oh, excuse me, pardon me," And she starts shoving people out of the way. And I was like, "What are you doing? You can't shove people at a party." And then this woman comes up to us, and she's a little drunk and a lot overweight. And she goes, "You guys are really sexy. Do you want to have a threesome?" And I go, "Oh, you're so sweet. No, we're just together. We don't do that." And she go, and the porn girl goes, "We wouldn't fuck you. You're fucking fat." And I go, "That is a human being. You can't talk to her like that. This is a human being. You can't talk to people like that." And on the ride home, I was just like, that behavior tonight was unacceptable. You ask why I don't bring you to things. I can't bring you. You're like a feral animal. I was like, you can never do this again. And then it was just and I was just like, I'm warning you.
And what did the girl in the back seat say? "Yeah, you were rude to me." No, just kidding.
No, there was.
No, I'm saying like you did take her home.
Oh, that's funny. So I gave her plenty of warnings.
Yeah.
And then I just did this sort of fade out. I didn't do the formal breakup. I just started gradually ghosting.
And you weren't scared that she was going to show up at your place with a duffel bag.
No, but then I ran into her the next year. So the next year I end up at the AVN Awards again.
Oh, so you run, okay, and you ran into her there?
So this time it's the AVN Awards and the SHOT Show, which is the world's largest gun show, happen in the same week usually.
Probably a great pairing, actually.
Yes, yeah, because all the cowboys and bubbas come over to the Hard Rock and just stare at the porn girls.
Yeah.
With their big belt buckles on. So I did a photo shoot for this gun company. And
you ran into her again.
Oh, yeah. So we go back to the Hard Rock, and I go into the Circle Bar, which was that circular bar in the middle of the Hard Rock. And I go, oh, there she is. And I go, you know what? I don't have beef with any of my exes. I'm ending this right now. So I go up to her, and she looks away, and I go, no, you saw me. I know you. I'm here. Listen, you and I liked each other before. We were friends before. Not really.
Yeah, just for like a few hours.
Yeah, we'll be friends after. Like, come on, it didn't work out. Like, we don't have to be ugly to each other. And she goes, you're right. I'm sorry. And we talked for a little while. We had a drink. And she's not good on alcohol, this one. So cut to a few hours later, I run into her again in a different bar in the hotel. And she stands up on a glass coffee table surrounded by porn guys, you know, with their bedazzled jeans and their tribal tattoos and their big muscles. And she goes, that motherfucker right there broke my heart. And I go, didn't I just unbreak it like 3 hours ago? I thought we were cool. She goes, you hurt my feelings. And I go, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden I'm surrounded by these three spray tan, muscly dudes. And they're just like, what'd you do to her, man? And I'm just like, mind your own fucking business. And thankfully they didn't beat me up. But yeah.
Amazing.
We're not friends.
Amazing. Now, tell me about this other woman that you were a little bit conned by a woman you were dating.
I was a lot bit conned by a woman I was dating.
Okay.
So
start from the beginning. I love a con story.
Let's call it 9 years ago-ish.
Okay.
I get a friend request on Facebook, and normally I never accept those if I don't know them. But this person I had like 100 friends in common with, and they weren't the typical friend collector types. You know how there's always that couple dozen that are friends with everybody? So I hit accept, and we don't make plans, and we're just making small talk for a series of weeks, maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks, and with no flirting and no intention of ever meeting. It's just something to pass the time. So one night she calls me and she says, hey, I'm in your neighborhood. I'm at the Pikey on Sunset.
What's that?
The Pikey is like an old English pub, and it used to be called the Coach and Horses.
Oh, yes.
It's really old. Like Hitchcock used to drink there. Evidently.
Yeah.
And now it's like a fancy Michelin star kind of restaurant called Horses as an homage to the back in the day. So I meet her there, and, you know, we have some drinks, and I'm about to say nice to meet you because, again, I'm not a closer. I like get to know someone. And she goes, hey, do you want to go back to your place and play? I go, yeah. So we go back to my place and we do some sex. And then she's like, I have to get home and walk my dogs. And I'm like, even better, you know?
Yeah.
So she leaves, and I don't hear from her for a little while. And then 3 weeks later, she's like, listen, I just had a falling out with my landlord. I have to move out tonight. Can I come stay with you for a while? And I'm like, no, like, I don't know you. So she's like, Scott, I have nowhere to go. I am on the streets. I have my dog, and I have one bag, and I have no place to go. And I said, where are you? And she said, Chatsworth. I said, do you do porn? She goes, why does everyone keep asking me that? And I said, because that's Porn Town. And she goes, no, I do not do porn. I said, where are you? And she goes, DeSoto and Devonshire. So I go on Google Maps, and I go, hotels, DeSoto, Devonshire. I said, do you see the Motel 6? She said, yeah, I see it, but I don't have any money, Scott. I said, hang on a second. Click. I said, I just booked you 3 nights there on me. You don't have to pay me back. And I just figured it's a couple of $100. I've lost that faster in my life, and I will pay any amount.
Now, let me say right here, I think you were very smart in doing that, because I do believe in my friends who have been financially conned by a guy that they dated briefly, when they've finally admitted because they're embarrassed. They're like, well, he just needed a loan for 2 weeks for taxes. I'm like, you were dating this guy for 3 weeks. He's in his 40s. and he's asking a girl that he should be trying to impress for a couple grand that he can't get from a credit card. He's exhausted everyone else in his life, a brother, a cousin for $2,000. That's what you have to ask yourself when someone. So I think that you were smart to be like, let me just give this girl a gift. So you did that. Continue.
Yeah. So I booked her 3 nights. I said, you don't have to pay me back. Good luck in your life. I literally said that, like, don't call me again. Good luck with your life. So she calls me. So out of nowhere, before she calls me, she PayPals me the full amount from the hotel. And I was just like, oh. And I don't respond. And she says, hey, did you get the PayPal I sent you? I said, yeah. I said you didn't have to pay me back, but thank you. That was pretty stand-up of you. So I thought that she was kind of all right. So then a couple weeks later, she says out of nowhere, she says, hey, so my trust fund just came through, and my lawyer says I can spend up to $10 million on a house. And I'm like, sure. She goes, have you ever spent any time in Montecito? I said, I've spent a lot of time.
But wait, off the bat, you thought it was bullshit, or was there a little part of you that was like, maybe it is true?
Heather, we've been kicking around for a while.
Okay, all right.
You know the old saying, money shouts, wealth whispers.
Yeah.
She told me she was a Getty. Like none of this added up. And like,
okay.
You live in this town long enough, you're going to cross paths with some of them. You know the family tree. So I said, sure you are. So she's like, have you spent time in Montecito? I said, yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Montecito. I have some friends that live there. She said, so I'm thinking of buying us a house in Montecito up to $10 million. I said, well, good for you. And she says, do you want to go house shopping with me? I said, no, I'm busy. I have a lot of editing to do. Just go. So she's like, well, I'm going to be staying at a luxury resort there. I'll get you your own room there. And you can just stay as long as you want. So I go, all right. So I call my friends who live on the beach in Montecito, and I said, I met this girl. She seems nuts. If this turns out to be bullshit, can I stay with you? And they're like, you have the keys to the guest house. You can come anytime without asking. I said, okay. So I go up there, and I show up at the Baccara. It's like a Ritz-Carlton. And it's real. They're like, welcome, Mr. Nathan. They put my bags in a golf cart, and they drive me to a huge suite, at the furthest edge, right on the cliff above the beach. And she texts me and she's like, listen, you don't have to hang out with me if you have time for like a breakfast or a smoothie, but it's yours. You were there for me when no one else was there for me. Stay as long as you want. I might be staying here for months while I find my house. All right. So I ended up seeing her like 3 times. I stayed there for 3 weeks to the tune of.
Wait, you stay there for 3 weeks. You don't leave. And you never see her?
I saw her a few times.
Do you bone?
No.
Do you kiss? Are you at all romantic?
Nothing. We like met for a smoothie,
This is so weird. Okay, continue.
So we end up doing that, and then I get a terrible feeling. I don't know, like my spidey sense was tingling after 3 weeks, and I'm like, this bill's over $60,000 at this point, and I'm doing all the things I would never do, like eating the chocolate covered almonds in the mini bar,
right?
Which are $90, and drinking liquor from the mini bar. And I'm kind of settling into this robe life.
Yeah.
So I get a bad feeling. So it's like 9:00 at night, and I call the front desk, and I said, yeah, I'm going to be checking out early about 7 a.m. Can you have my car washed? And
but you never put a card down for like incidentals or anything.
No, but I had to give my ID.
Okay, right.
Which was concerning.
Okay.
So the night before I left, I had my friends who live there, who always take such good care of me when I visit. I said, why don't you come by? We'll spend an afternoon in Baccara. And we ate some pizzas and we drank some smoothies.
All charged the room.
Yeah, but they all met. The girl was there too.
Okay. All right.
So they all met. And
did they think she was legit? Obviously, you're staying there at this point, I would think she was legit.
No, they were like, something's not right about this girl. She's weird. And I'm like, I know she's weird. I just don't know where the money's really coming from. So I leave in the morning, I get up really early, and I leave. And then around sunset, I get a call from my friend who lives there, the wife. And she says, where are you right now? And I said, I'm home. I came back home. I missed my cat. I wanted to.
So when you left, they never tried to charge you with anything? They're just like, bye?
No.
Okay.
I didn't even go to the front desk. I just,
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Did you tell the girl you were leaving?
I texted her when I was halfway home.
Okay.
I said, thanks for everything. I'm on my way home. Appreciate it. So my friend and her husband tell me that they were sitting at the Four Seasons Biltmore, watching the sun go down, having a drink, and a phalanx of FBI agents come rushing into the bar, tackle her to the ground, zip tie her wrists and ankles, and confiscate her dogs.
So she was sitting at a different hotel, and your friends happened to witness this.
And run into her. And she had her dog, and they're like, hello. And then the FBI charges in. So I go, oh my God, what is going on? And my friend says, Google this name. And I Google the girl's name. It was slightly different from the name she told me. And the first thing that comes up is a listicle in the Huffington Post of the most notorious con women in American history. And there were people that go back to the 1800s on this list, and her. So I'm in a state of panic. I'm like, I think there's weed in the house. I'm going to go hide it. I'm like, the sheriffs are going to kick my door down. They had a copy of my ID. My car was at the valet. They have my license plate. I'm going to get arrested. So I call my lawyer. And I go, Phil, what am I going to do? And I tell him the whole story that I just told you. And he said, Scott, do not call the police. I'm like, they just did a press conference on NBC. They're going to come to my house. He said, Scott, if you call, I go, maybe I should call this detective and get ahead of this and just tell him that I didn't know. He said, Scott, the police are not your friend. If you call the FBI or the police on yourself, I'm going to drive over to your house and I'm going to kick you in the balls as hard as I can. He goes, if they arrest you, do not say a word to them. Every syllable that you utter to the police limits what I can do for you. You didn't do anything wrong. Just sit tight. So I didn't sleep for 3 weeks, Heather. I was in a state of abject terror. And to her credit, she never told anything about me. But I wanted to sort of see if I could shift the narrative. So I called my friend Vicky, who hosts this network TV show called, I can't even think of the name of it, but it was one of those true crime TV shows. So I said, hey, Vicky, you want to win another Emmy? And she goes, I love your, she's Southern. She says, Scott, I love your stories. What do you got for me? And I tell her the story. She goes, it's an interesting story, but is she good looking? It really only works if she's good looking. I said, yeah, she's good looking enough. So Vicky takes a camera crew down to the arraignment in Santa Barbara County and sends me a picture of the girl who's got a split lip and a black eye and a royal blue prison jumpsuit. And Vicky texts me the picture and she says, looks like somebody had some sass mouth down at the jailhouse. And they did a special on it. And she ended up getting like 5 or 6 years in prison.
What did she do? What was her crime besides scamming hotels?
Oh, well, here, let me tell you how she scammed hotels, because that's the whole backstory. So she'd been in and out of prisons since 1994, since she was a kid.
Wow.
And the first people she ripped off was her own grandparents.
That's always how it starts.
Siphoned their life savings.
Oh.
And it wasn't like buying anything of value. It was buying luxury goods, buying handbags and hotel stays. And she married some guy, ripped him off, ripped all of his. So she was an identity thief. So what she would do is she would steal people's identity, then go rent Airbnbs, then find a piece of mail of the people who live in the house, apply for credit in their names, get credit cards, and kept it going, kept hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb, stealing people's identity, and then she was constantly on the run. And the cops and the feds had been looking for her for years, and they finally nailed her just after I left. So she gets 5 or 6 years in prison. Between prison overcrowding and good behavior, she got out in 3 years. And while I have no desire to ever make contact with her again, I do in a way thank her for not dragging me down the drain with her.
So she put down some fake credit card. And that is so weird though. I can't imagine that after like a bill running up that high that they wouldn't be a little concerned.
You'd think.
Like it kind of reminds me of the Anna Delvey story where Anna Delvey invites her friend and then she's like, oh, can you put your card down? But even then they were like, came up to them after a while and were like, you know, we've run it through. It hit a limit, or maybe whoever card she stole was so wealthy that it was still going through.
Or maybe she was constantly swapping them. And then I later found out from a news story that the realtor that was showing her all of these $10 million houses She stole the realtor's ID while she was looking at a house, went into her purse and stole her driver's license and credit card and ripped her off.
Oh, God. That's another cruel thing. That, it's always the realtors that get sucked into this fake con of looking for nice houses and stuff. And they're all excited, thinking they're going to make a $10 million deal, and they're trying hard, and they're going home and telling their husband, oh, I got a hot one.
But the thing is, every realtor I know, the first thing they ask for, because they don't want their time wasted, is, okay, send a letter of proof of funds.
Well, I think these cons, because it's fun for them too, I think they choose someone that's like new.
Right.
Like some pretty new girl on Joe Schmo's team, and they're like, oh, hi,
Who's totally green. That makes sense.
Like that, is just so excited to have like an actual client and like actually book some appointments, and they don't want to be too pushy and say, oh, can I make sure, But if you take them in your car, especially being a female, meet them at the office. Don't meet them at the property, and then have their license copied. So there's a witness, and then you leave that license with like the receptionist, and then you put them in your car or whatever.
Interesting. I didn't know you were a realtor.
Yeah.
How long did you do that for?
My parents were realtors, and then I did it with them. And I got people calling me because I was like 22 and pretty cute. And they put me in
charming.
They put me in some
smart
ad. And so, and then my mom was so excited that I was getting calls, I remember when I took this guy that was like a cop out to like buy, his first home, which still would have been like great deal for me. And then I realized like halfway through, this guy doesn't want to buy a house. He was like very flirty and everything. And then I was like, listen, we had a fun day today. I showed some stuff, but unless you buy from me, this was a huge waste of my time. So are you serious? And also you cannot go with another person and look at other houses with another person, or walk into an open house and buy from the broker that's sitting there. You have to say, I represent you. Here's a stack of cards. Be loyal. It's a tough business.
How long did you do it for?
I did it since I was 7 years old. I assisted my parents with delivering pumpkins to the houses in the neighborhood, stuffing envelopes, soliciting listings at the local school. And then I officially got my license at 19 and did it like in summers of college. And then I finally let the license go once I was working on Chelsea Lately. I let it expire.
You were on that show a long time, right?
Yeah, from the beginning to the end. Yeah.
Which at the risk of sounding stupid, how long did it run for?
7.5 years.
Okay.
So yeah. But at a certain point, I just let it because you had to keep up those classes and stuff like that. And I was like, I think I can make it now.
I got a gig now.
But I still I love real estate. And I love, watching the shows, and I interview a lot of realtors that are on the TV shows. Yeah.
Okay, and you were you were head writer for Chelsea?
I wrote on it and produced it and appeared on it.
Too, right?
Appeared on it, yeah, regularly.
Good
yeah.
run.
Yeah, it was fun. What do you think about the writer's strike?
I believe in them. I mean, obviously, it's ridiculously unfair to writers. When I've been looking at people posting their residual checks, from streaming, and they're getting 1 and 2 cents for writing gigantic TV shows from streaming royalties, and it's bullshit. And directors make a fortune, actors make a fortune, streamer CEOs make a fortune, streaming companies grow year over year. You got to pay the writers.
I just saw someone
can't AI this shit.
I guess Deadline just posted a writer that explained it really well, which I didn't understand. One of the aspects being the mini rooms, where they say we just want they say we just want to pay for the writers for 6 weeks to write the show, and then that's it. That's where they're saying it's these gigs. It's not several months where normally the writers would write it, and then they would also be on set to change the stuff to.
Which you have to do because things always change
and so this older guy was saying, now we're going to have a generation of writers that really don't know how movie making works, and you're not going to get the same product. And they're thinking they're doing it just give us the script and goodbye. And they're taking away the art form of it, and it's going to affect the product, So I think it's a scary time, but I hope people really back them, because this is like a monumental moment of
I'm proud of the
streaming
stars
and
that
stuff.
are doing it. I love what Drew Barrymore did. I love that people are taking a stand, because this is, Just as all the writers should back the actors when they strike. And,
Yes.
like you have to be unified. And the whole thing has become a shit show from, as we talked about last time, from the commercials to TV to movies.
Yeah.
Like I told you when I started doing commercials, 15% of commercials were non-union. Now it's like 1 in 30 auditions I'll have are union. So
Wow.
they're just trying to
Eradicate the union.
not pay anyone.
Yeah.
And all these unions have like the highest unemployment rate in the world. When you get a gig, you should be rewarded for it.
Right. Good point. Okay, so tell me well, let me think. Like, what is your Dalai Lama story? And what did you think about him sucking the tongue of the kid?
I went about 2 weeks avoiding seeing it. I was disappointed, I would say. But then somebody, I don't know if it was in my comments or if it was on a show, I picked it up somewhere saying that it wasn't an unusual Tibetan ritual. Have you heard that?
I saw that. I saw different things. I saw, could it be that he has Alzheimer's? Then they're like, no, he doesn't. And good news is Alzheimer's is very little with those type of people based on their diet, which I'm like, what's their diet? We should take it. And then the other one was, yes, it's a ritual. It's a joke. I don't know. It's something.
I respect all religions.
I think
but
it's weird.
Don't French kiss children.
Yeah, I think it was weird. So, tell us your story.
All right. So I had this really good friend who was a model, and she was not a sugar baby. She was not a pro. She was just like a sweet girl from the Pacific Northwest. But she ran with a big crowd. And she was just one of those people that was fun to have around. So everybody had her around. And she was one of those girls that could commandeer jets. And she'd be flying all over the world. And so one night she calls me. So she calls me from on her iPad, FaceTime, from the interior of a private jet. And I've seen not a lot, but I've seen the interiors of a few private jets in my days. This was different. This was a huge aircraft. And I said, dude, what kind of plane is that? That's the biggest thing I've ever seen. And she goes, and she's drunk. She's got a glass of champagne in her hand. She goes, do you have any find out? And I said, yeah, find out. So she takes her iPad and she goes to the flight deck. She goes, hey, you guys, this is my friend Scott. He's really into airplanes. And I go, hey, what are you flying there, Cap? And he goes, oh, Boeing 757-200. And I said, nice whip. And he goes, oh, thanks. So she goes back to her big creamy leather seat and plops back down. And I notice over her shoulder saffron robes. And I go, dude, is that the Dalai Lama behind you? She goes, oh my God, yes. Do you know him? I said, no, I don't know him. She goes, he's really nice. I said, dude, he's the 14th reincarnation of Buddha. I would imagine the very least he would be as nice. And she goes, what? I go, nothing. Never mind. So we're talking a little while longer, and she shifts in her seat again. And I go, dude, is that Bill Clinton talking to the Dalai Lama behind you? She goes, oh my God, yes. Do you know him? I go, no, I don't know him either. She goes, they're really cool. Do you want to meet them? I go, yeah. So she starts walking back there, and then it occurs to me that I'm shirtless in bed with just lamplight on an Ambien. But it's too late. So she gets on one knee with the iPad, and she goes, you guys, this is my friend Scott. He wanted to meet you. And the Dalai Lama goes, hello. And Bill Clinton goes, how you doing, bud? And I go, I don't know what to say. I'm like high and shirtless. And I go, Your Holiness, Mr. President? And then she goes back to the seat. I go, dude, where are you going with Bill Clinton and the Dalai Lama? And she goes, Monaco. I go, what are you doing in Monaco with Bill Clinton and the Dalai Lama? And she goes, partying, duh. So, could not figure out what this was about. So the next day, she sends me a picture of a bottle of wine on a dinner table with the ocean in the background. And I don't know that much about wine. And so I take a picture and I send it to Carlo Mondavi, a friend of mine who's of the Mondavi Napa Valley family. And he's wine encyclopedia, wine rain man. And so I just said, any good? And he goes, that's the most famous bottle of first growth Bordeaux in the world, the most expensive bottle of first growth Bordeaux in the world, and the fakest example I have ever seen in my life.
What does that mean?
They counterfeit a lot of wine. So this wine is a 1947 Chateau Cheval Blanc, which means white horse, I guess. Yeah, Cheval Blanc. And it's one of the, if not the most coveted Bordeaux. So I go, Carlo, are you sure this is fake? He goes, yeah, the cork's wrong, the label's wrong, the wine's, the bottle's wrong. Let me guess, Cannes? I said, no. He said, Nice? I said, no. He said, Monaco? I said, yes. He goes, let me guess, some billionaire took his dick out, was trying to show off in front of all of his friends, and paid six figures for a bottle of wine? I said, yep. And he said, are you going to tell them it's fake? And I said, no. He goes, why not? I said, if I've learned anything about billionaires in my life, is they don't like being embarrassed or humiliated. I'm not saying shit.
So who do you think bought the wine? Clinton,
exactly.
Dalai Lama, or who?
Neither. It was the billionaire that was
invited them all.
That invited them all. And I know who it is, and I cannot say. Some people guessed it in the comments section on TikTok.
Oh, really?
So a lot of people guessed it's Epstein. It's not Epstein.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. This was extremely fun and juicy.
Always.
We have more on here, so we'll just save it for the next time.
All
Make
right.
sure I write everything down.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Annie.
And tell everybody where they can follow you and sign up for the book that's coming out.
Okay, so the book sign up is at baddecisionsbook.com. My Instagram and TikTok are Scott Nathan Photo. My Twitter is Scott Nathan. I think that's all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Always a blast.
Always a blast. Well, thank you guys for subscribing to YouTube. And you probably noticed that the top of my head was cut off during the entire first part of the show. I don't want to read your comments about it. I'm about to crack. We are trying to do everything we can. I mean, I just came back from doing a show in Vegas. There was this, there's Patreon, there's streamers. I mean, I do everything I possibly can to bring you the content. And sometimes it's not perfect. Sometimes I swallow. Sometimes I have a cough. Sometimes it just can't be perfect every time. And I appreciate all the nice comments too, but the mean ones are really hard to take. So with that being said, the best way you can support me is come to see me live. I'm really excited about my show coming up at the Tempe Improv with the hilarious Chris Frangiola. We will be there June 15th and 16th, 2 shows a night. Then also San Diego in June with Chris and Justin. So 3 headliners you get there. And then in Napa, it's going to be Julie Goldman, Justin, and I in Napa in July. All of these dates and so many more are available at heathermcdonald.net. Please check it out. And of course, enjoy my Patreon there every Friday and extra content based on what tier you are. I appreciate all the support. And I also appreciate all the criticism, but not really.